A world without the Maldives. It is never cold here, the temperature is never below +17 in winter and above +32 in summer. Everyone has heard about natural disasters, especially about global warming, but many still think that there is nothing wrong with the fact that the planet will become hotter. But in fact, for example, for the Maldives, this may very soon mean the end. Due to the melting of glaciers, there will be more water in the oceans, which means that part of the coastal territory will be flooded, and the first on the list for flooding are the Maldives. Global warming is becoming the main challenge for humanity in the 21st century. Melting glaciers are causing sea levels to rise, putting cities and entire nations at risk. One of the targets for the elements was the Maldives, where from time to time residents receive flood warnings. Every year, the islands gradually go underwater, and by the end of the century they can completely sink. While the rich and famous spend large sums at local resorts and enjoy a carefree holiday, locals are struggling with drought and trying to find at least a few liters of clean water. The Republic of Maldives, most commonly referred to simply as the Maldives, lies south of India and Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean. The state occupies a chain of almost 1.2 thousand coral islands grouped into atolls, coral archipelagos of a continuous or broken ring. Only 200 pieces are considered inhabited. Today, these islands with white sand are the largest coral state in the world, with an area of 300 square kilometers, where more than 540,000 people live in October 2021. Most of the population lives in villages and is engaged in agriculture, fishing, growing vegetables and fruits, as well as collecting coconuts. In the mass consciousness, the Maldives is considered a paradise with luxurious nature, but such ideas do not always correspond to reality. The capital of Male quickly dispels an established myth. The city is almost completely littered with garbage, and a large number of people move along the narrow streets and cars and scooters move randomly. The Maldives largely live off premium tourism. The sphere began to develop actively in the 1970s. Today it accounts for 28% of the country's GDP. A trip to the Maldives cannot be called a budget option. A night on the islands can cost more than 200,000 rubles for two, and the cost of a whole tour reaches millions. The Maldives is a popular vacation destination for the rich and famous. In dozens of years, the children and grandchildren of celebrities will have to look for new places to relax. Their favorite resort is predicted not the most rosy future. According to the forecasts of the authorities, by the end of the 21st century, the islands will go underwater. The Maldivian Minister for Environment, Climate Change and Technology, Aminat Shornu, has repeatedly made similar warnings. The peculiarity of the Maldives is in their position relative to sea level. The state is considered the lowest in the world. The highest point is at a height of only 2.4 meters above sea level. The problem is getting worse every year. At the moment 80% of all the islands are located only a meter above sea level. Scientists suggest that by 2100 sea levels will rise by 1.1 meters. The Maldives will actually be flooded. The state is already facing natural disasters. 90% of the territory was affected by floods, 97 were eroded by the coastline. In the current situation, Shornu called the Maldives the most vulnerable country in the world. We will not survive, the politician said. Theoretically, they should feel the rising waters first. To prevent this from happening, the Maldivians, with the help of the Japanese, erected an atoll artificially raised above the abyss and built a protective wall around their capital, Male. The danger for the islanders who do not live in it, however, has not diminished, at least that's what the authorities think. The representative of the Maldives at the climate conference in Glasgow called global warming an existential threat for his state. In this regard, in 2008, the government of the Maldives decided every year to set aside part of the national income from tourism in a special fund, the funds from which will be used to purchase new territories for the state and resettle people. The Maldivian authorities blame the G20 countries for climate change. They account for 75% of harmful emissions. To solve the problem of global warming, joint actions of the whole world are needed. The islands highlight the need to be carbon neutral and commit to decarbonization, but there is another opinion. Erosion in the Maldives is due to human intervention. On the islands, the number of ports and moorings, water transport is increasing every year, which leads to soil erosion.